Are you a physician who finds yourself struggling to keep your head above water, overwhelmed by the demands of work and home life? Is your relationship with your partner or your children suffering because even when you're home, you just need to be left alone so you can have a little downtime? Are you coping with all of this in some unhealthy ways, either lashing out at colleagues, increasing your alcohol intake, or spending more time at the gym than's really necessary? Does the idea of work-life balance sound like just a cliche to you? Do you find yourself asking why you put yourself through medical school, residency, maybe even a fellowship just for the life you're now leading? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are most definitely not alone. Look, I know as a therapist who specializes in mental health care for physicians, I see a skewed sample, but I can nonetheless say with a reasonable level of authority that many of your colleagues have at times found themselves struggling with the same issues. And the good news is, it doesn't need to be like this. My name is Kenny Levine, and I'm a therapist with over 20 years of experience as a therapist for physicians. And the reason I'm recording this video today is that the physician burnout statistics are alarming. A 2023 study by the Physicians Foundation found that 6 out of 10 docs are struggling with burnout and dissatisfaction with their career. And 8 out of 10 don't feel comfortable reaching out for help. After reading this report, I wanted to take a moment to walk through some of its key findings around what appear to be some of the primary barriers for physicians seeking support when they need it, and maybe correct what I believe to be some misconceptions around getting support that this survey uncovers. So let me share my screen. So let's start with what strikes me as one of the most alarming statistics uncovered by this survey of medical students, residents, and physicians. This is on page 25 of the report. For the second year in a row, it found that nearly 8 in 10 respondents agreed that there is stigma surrounding seeking mental health care among physicians. Unsurprisingly, a greater proportion of female physicians, 83%, agreed that this stigma exists compared to male physicians who agreed that there was that stigma at a rate of 76%. Why do I say unsurprisingly? This video probably isn't the right time for me to unpack all the, what I'll diplomatically call, gender issues in the medical profession. But as a clinician who has worked with physicians of all genders for a couple of decades now, I have observed that gender appears to play a significant role in the sorts of professional experiences you might have over the course of your career as a physician. Aside from the general stigma around seeking help, the survey also found that 4 out of 10 respondents either themselves feared seeking mental health treatment or know another physician who is afraid to get mental health treatment, specifically out of concern it could impact their application for medical licensure or malpractice insurance. So here's what I think is important for you to know about this. First, I've seen dozens and dozens of physicians over the course of my 20-something year career. Not a single one has ever reported having experienced negative career repercussions as a consequence of seeking counseling. On the contrary, what I've heard is that getting therapy has helped them provide better care, form stronger, more collegial relationships, and find greater job and life satisfaction overall. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that there is a valid concern to be had around the potential impact of getting therapy on medical licensure or your malpractice insurance. Here's what I think you should know. In the vast majority of cases, if you are paying for counseling out of pocket, the mental health provider is not required to give you a diagnosis. Now, there may be exceptions to this because it's sometimes clinically important to talk about a diagnosis with a patient in order to help them better understand their symptoms as well as the therapist's treatment recommendations. But that's definitely the exception to the rule, and I think it's safe to say that, generally speaking, most therapists often don't attach a diagnosis to the file of their self-pay clients. Unless you've already had a board complaint, the standard question on a licensure or insurance application is some variation on, are you receiving treatment for a mental health disorder? If you don't have a diagnosis, the answer to that question is no, even if you're in counseling. So here's the takeaway. If you have concerns about the potential ramifications of a mental health diagnosis, particularly if you're talking about maybe a substance use disorder, that's an absolutely appropriate thing for you to talk with a potential therapist about during a free initial consultation before they've even started to gather any intake information from you. But let's say you don't even want to have that conversation with a clinician and you don't want to talk to someone who could potentially give you a mental health diagnosis if they wanted to. Well, guess what? A lot of therapists like me also offer coaching services. I have a whole separate LLC called Thrive Communication Skills, in which I don't offer mental health treatment per se, but I do offer coaching. And when I'm working as a coach, I cannot make a mental health diagnosis or offer any sort of diagnostic impression or assessment. I don't keep any notes, and there's no medical record because it isn't a medical or mental health service. So keep that option in mind, because guess what? Burnout and problems with work-life balance aren't mental health disorders. Burnout does not appear in the DSM-5. So burnout and work-life balance are absolutely appropriate issues for you to seek the support of a coach rather than a therapist. One last thing to keep in mind about coaching as opposed to therapy. As of the recording of this video, which I'm doing in November of 2024, I'm licensed to practice therapy only in the states of Utah and North Carolina. So my therapy clients have to be in one of those states at the time of the session. Now, there's an interstate compact for LCSWs like me that's in the works and is supposed to go into effect in the fall of 2025. So if you're watching this video after that date, chances are I can practice in many more states than that. I'm going to link to the map for the Interstate Compact below, and if you click on that link, you should be able to check and see if your state has joined the compact. But as of now, I can only provide therapy to clients in Utah or North Carolina. That said, I can provide coaching not just nationwide, but worldwide. Coaching is not regulated like therapy, so those geographic restrictions don't exist for coaching. Okay, I think these are all the main points I wanted to make in this video. I'll also provide a link to the Physicians Foundation report, as well as links to both my therapy and coaching practices. Thanks for watching. I hope the information in this video was helpful to you, and that if you're a physician who's struggling, that you won't hesitate to reach out for help.